So Gunjan, how working across so many countries have helped you as a marketer?
Do your marketing in a culture you know. The one thing that always works is good storytelling. Prasun Joshi, Piyush Pandey are what they are because they are excellent storytellers. I fundamentally do not believe that there is a attention deficit issue in the generation. I think the issue largely is with brand and creative and the kind of story they are able to craft to be able to hook attention long enough.
I see a lot of content getting popular with Gen Z which has got no head and toe.
What we call as cringe content, in my opinion, is a way for a generation to come together and speak the same language. Okay, so Ganji Chudel gets popular because a lot of people are watching it. Fun fact that people don't know is it took us 2.5 years to make this ad. It's a labor of pain that you see on the screen today. Where agencies can do better is before you end up at that stage, which is creative, we need to understand the business first. Creative is a tool to deliver the business. Creative is not the business.
Has worked across US, China, South Korea, India, UK. So after spending so many years in marketing, ऐसा होता है लोगों को चलो settle हो जाते हैं. So are you settled in India now?
We don't like the idea of settling now. But when you think from a long-term perspective, yes, India is the place to be.
Hello and welcome to another episode of BMI Podcast. Today I have with me Gunjan Khetan. He is the CMO at Perfetti Van Melle India. Welcome Gunjan, welcome to BMI Podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure.
Great to have you here. So I'll just give a little brief about Gunjan. He is a global marketer as he's worked across US, China, South Korea, India, UK, and he understands the DNA of marketing across so many countries. So and then he's also worked across a lot of FMCG brands like Heinz, Decode, and now at Perfetti.
Yeah.
I hope this intro is absolutely fine, Gunjan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. You've been very kind.
Okay. So Gunjan, the first thing that when you agreed to do this podcast, I've always observed people, and the first thing that came to my mind was that when you go to a shop, probably a candy shop, and you've always been a marketer, what is that first thing that you instinctively scan through from a marketing lens?
It depends on which company I'm working for and which category. I try and look for that category. Unfortunately, it is what it is because it is the source of success and growth for me. So I always, right now, whichever shop I go to, I always look for candies in the shop. Is it placed right? Is it at the right eye level? How many packs do I have? And then I try and call my sales team if I find something missing. It's not a very pleasant situation to be in for the sales team member, but it is what it is. Interestingly, when I used to work on toilet cleaners, I used to go to shops and look for toilet cleaners. And if I won't see it, I would ask, "Arey, aapke paas Harpic hai kya?" So I'm in a much better situation because confection is a better conversation to be had. But yeah, that's what I mean.
You must also look at the way they're kept there, the marketing around it, the retail merchandising and all, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All of it.
The visibility, the quality of visibility, how many facings I have, etc., etc. I mean, yeah.
Okay. So Gunjan, when you look back, you have almost like 20 plus years of marketing experience. What is that one single very big, toughest decision that you've taken in your career and that has actually shaped your journey, professional journey?
A very difficult question to answer, but if I had to peg myself to two decisions, actually it's not one, it's two. The first one happened in 2005 when I raised my hand to go to sales. The way generally FMCG works is everyone wants to be in marketing. Okay, it is where creativity happens. It is where you get to learn a lot about brands, about marketing. You get to influence the glamorous part of marketing, and sales is always slightly tougher. It needs a lot of grit and tenacity. But I felt that if I had to really succeed in a country like India, which where distribution can be a competitive advantage, I needed to do sales, right? And that is when I was doing very well in marketing at that point in time. I was working on a brand called Complan. My work was getting appreciated, but then I took the tough call to move to sales, raise my hand. Obviously, the organization was supportive. They moved me to sales and gave me a really rich territory where I could learn and influence and grow a lot. So that was the first thing where I really pushed the boundaries that I had set for myself and tried to test my grit and tenacity. The second one was when I raised my hand to move out of India. So this is back in 2012. I've always been in India. I've grown up in India. My family was there. But it was a big decision, and it was not a country that people at that point in time knew much about. It was South Korea. Now South Korea is so popular. But back in 2012, no one knew South Korea as much. I remember my father-in-law, when I told him that we are moving to Korea, he said, "Which one? North or South?" So I had to explain, North I can't move without getting shot down. But yeah, so that for me was another iconic moment in my career where I took that big call of getting out of the comfort zone of all the family setup we had in India, all the structures we had built as a family in India, and also professionally. It's as a marketer, it's always easy to do your marketing in a culture you know. Okay, this is how Indians think. This is what matters to India, right? And then moving to a country where the culture is completely different, where the motivators and the drivers of people are very different. To be able to learn that and perform is always a challenge. So for me, that was the second big step that helped me grow. Because of these two calls that I took, and none of them were comfortable calls, I feel blessed that I'm at a place where I am, and I'm able to pull on the learnings whenever I need from both these experiences.
I did have this question to ask you, that how working across so many countries have helped you as a marketer. But is there something else that you wish to add? Because you've already answered this question.
It's a good question, because all these countries have been very different experience. I was working in India, which was more of a developing country. The thing with India is most of the categories are under-penetrated. Okay? And there the marketing task largely across categories is to drive penetration. And our media is structured differently. Our TV media is cheaper. So therefore, big communication that you run on TV is the way to go, right? Our sales and distribution systems are different. A lot of it is going store to store and distributing products. And then you move to countries like UK and US, where it's very different. A lot of power sits with trade. You've got big box retailers like Walmart, Target, right, Costco, and there the negotiations sit essentially with trade. They can practically decide which innovation to get launched and which not. So what, as a consumer, what you see is what has been influenced by trade already. Okay, there the categories are already developed. Okay, most of the categories are upwards of 80% penetration. So the marketing task is very different. It's not about finding more users. It's about selling your product to that user. So it's a market share fight, right? So the nuances of what you do is essentially different. And this is what I picked up as I moved across the countries. South Korea was a good mix of both. And back in 2013, one of the things I learned in South Korea was e-commerce. South Korea was already evolved in e-commerce. 20% of all sales were already coming out of e-commerce, which even now in India we don't get, right? So these are skills as you hop around from one place to another and one uncomfortable situation to another. These are the things you end up picking, and then you I was fortunate enough to learn a new thing everywhere and then reapply them as I moved around the world.
So which was the most difficult country to work for?
Most difficult? I won't say difficult, but I would say I picked up the most in South Korea. Okay, because it was my first expat stint. It was the first time I was exposed to a new and different culture. Okay, which also meant that I had to forget myself as an Indian and think of myself as a marketer who's just trying to observe and learn every small thing. So those were big changes in me as an individual. And the language was unfamiliar. It was not an English-speaking country. So I had to also pick up the language to understand what's really going on, right? So to that extent, it was the country where I learned the most. And it also built an inherent ability in me, which nowadays fancily is called agility, which is to be able to adapt to uncomfortable situations. So at work, obviously navigating through language, culture, etc. But it kind of creeps up in really, really small things. Suppose you have to go from point A to point B and you're negotiating with the taxi driver. When he doesn't know your language, you don't know his language, but you keep telling him turn left, turn right, etc. So your brain starts working in very, very different ways the moment you push yourself in those kind of situations. So to me, South Korea was the most fun, most opportunity filled, yet most challenging assignment I had done.
And do you also have to take care of the cultural nuances in countries like UK, US and South Korea? Because in India it's very different. India में हर state में अलग culture पाया जाता है. But is it the same case in US, UK as well?
South Korea, no. It's largely a homogeneous culture, but that culture is vastly different from India. Okay, so you have to understand that first. Understand how does this country and the people in the country work. It's a very hierarchical culture because of the extensive military base and the forced military training that everyone has to go through. So it influences thinking and culture in ways that you can never anticipate. Okay? And that creeps into your family and your work also. So these are things you pick up. UK largely is broadly a European kind of culture. Okay? US was interesting. US is a lot like India. Depending on which part of US you are in, the answer to a cultural question is different. If you're in Midwest, it's largely a different culture. If you're on East Coast versus West Coast, it's a very different experience. But at the same time, there's also a lot of homogeneity in US, which in India does not exist. Okay. So it is this fine balance of trying to unravel what is the homogeneity and what are yet the differences, and use that to your advantage to drive marketing and conversations around your brand.
Okay. So after spending so many years in marketing, ऐसा होता है लोगों को चलो अब settle हो जाते हैं. So are you settled in India now?
Yeah, the thing is, because we've as a family we moved around so much, we don't like the idea of settling down. Okay, so every 3 years we have moved almost. So we've just completed 3 years, and obviously there's an itch. What next? But when you think from a long-term perspective, yes, India is the place to be. It is the growth story. This is where the next 20-25 years of growth is sitting. And a lot of action is happening, a lot of investment is happening. So if you want to build your career as a professional, there are hardly a few countries I can count on my hand, and India is probably the top one. So professionally, this is where you would want to settle after being through a lot of countries that I've been through.
I hope the way you're looking at India in such a positive light. I hope the addex to GDP ratio also increases the same way. That's one thing that the advertising world has been struggling with.
Yeah, that's a difficult one for me to comment. The only thing I can comment is we continue to advertise. We can continue to advertise more and more. And
I think the future is bright only with all the changes that's coming in GST and all.
Yeah.
And the future seems to be bright.
Yeah, no, we are very thankful to the government of India for bringing in this change. And I hope in the short term we are able to see growth in most of the categories, especially FMCG.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have grown in the era of Piyush Pandey and alikes. So, and the way how creative people work is slightly, or sometimes people even say that it's very different from what they used to think. They used to think about big ideas. Now things are quite quirky, witty, quick, always on. So what is that one thing that still shapes the way how you judge a script, and one thing that you've let go of?
Yeah, I mean, in all my experience, okay, the one thing that always works is good storytelling. Okay, Prasun Joshi or Piyush Pandey are what they are because they are excellent storytellers. Okay, and that will never go out of fashion. We have a lot of these debates, and I've been part of many panels where they keep discussing short form, long form. What has fundamentally changed from the time that I was growing versus today is the fact that as a consumer, I have the ability to decide what I want to watch. Okay. When I was growing up, there was TV. You had to watch a 30-second ad. You didn't have a choice. At best, you would switch channels during ad breaks, right? But you weren't able to scroll through ads. Okay? Now we have that ability, which essentially means it is less about long form, short form, in my opinion. And it's a slightly controversial opinion. It is more about storytelling. If people are scrolling through your ad, means that you are not telling the right story for people to get hooked onto. A great story will always find its place and attention. Humanity has evolved as storytellers. Right? So that is really ingrained in our DNA. We always love great stories. Some movies do well in spite of being 2.5 hours. With GenZ also. This entire argument that they are fickle in their attention does not stand then. Right? There are many people who are making long form ads. Okay? And those ads are getting a lot of appreciation. GenZ is watching them. Because those are excellent stories to be told. So for me, storytelling will continue to be the fundamental, the foundation of good advertising. So that hasn't changed, will not change. One of the things where I feel personally that the advertising agency kind of moved away from my growing years is actually two things. One, the partnership with client. Okay. Their ability to understand the client's business and challenges. I've grown up in the era of Arvind Sharma, who used to head Leo Burnett. Okay. And he used to be very passionate about a brand called Complan. And he used to spend days in our office fighting with us on why we should do things and not do things. Okay. And he would do a lot of homework before he land up at our work. Right. So I've grown up with that level of involvement that the agencies had. Okay. So for me, that partnership is a piece that I feel can be done better by agencies. The second thing that probably has to be relooked and reevaluated is to my first point, which is storytelling. Storytelling is important, very, very important. but the storytelling has to be around the brand. You can't have a storytelling which is independent of the brand, and the brand comes at the end. So at the end of the day, you are advertising a brand, not advertising a story. Okay, and I can think of many ads that I've seen which are appreciated in all possible forums. But when I look at the ad and I realize, what was this ad about? Can I recall the brand? But I can't understand why the brand manager would have ever approved a brand like advertising like that. It does fabulous work for getting you views on the story and getting the agency in the limelight, but it does nothing for the brand that spend money on that advertising. Right? So storytelling has to build in the context of the brand, and this is what people like Piyush Pandey used to do so well. Okay? And that is why they are icons in the industry, because they would understand the need of the client. They were inherently great storytellers, and they knew that the real magic sat somewhere in between. So if you remember Piyush's one of the most iconic ad, Fevicol. Think of the story. Story is so powerful, but the story is all about things getting stuck to that stick. So the brand benefit is right in the middle of that story. Okay.
So you're all in for contextuality, but not brand placement. Sometimes I see for the brand to be in the ad or in the branded content, brand is all over the place.
That's the other extreme. That is the brand manager writing the script for the agency. That is equally bad. Right?
So the contextuality of the brand has to be there.
Yes, the brand benefit needs to be the center of the drama and the storytelling that you do.
It shouldn't be just a small part, but the hero of the story is.
Yeah.
Okay, so while you were just telling me all these things about storytelling and Gen Z, so one thing that came to my mind is, because you've said that storytelling has to be central. I see, and you also, your main target audience is Gen Z, to what I understand. So
most of the brands, yes.
So I see a lot of content getting popular with Gen Z which has got no head and toe. For example, a lot of cringe content like Ganji Chudel or Meri Soni Samari, all those. And these are not stories, but such content is popular with Gen Z. So over here, story is not there. And because it's working with Gen Zs, a lot of brands are also riding this bandwagon of cringe content. What is your take on it?
I think what we call as cringe content, in my opinion, is a way for a generation to come together and speak the same language. Okay, so Ganji Chudel gets popular because a lot of people are watching it, and then it becomes a conversation point in that generation. The same thing goes, I don't know if you're familiar with 6-7. Okay, so 6-7 to us is meaningless, but it's the way this generation bonds. I knew when I was growing up, there were things like these which were completely insane to my parents. But that was a way that I used to bond with my friends. Okay, so that happens in every generation. It's not new.
But there's no story here.
Yes, so there will always be stories. Okay, and so also no fault of the brand that they kind of hang on to some of these things and try and elevate. As long as your brand is fit with the story or the idea, you can definitely do it. Okay, but if your brand has no connection with this fad or this story or this idea, then consumers will be able to see through it. Okay, and that is where the engagement on that kind of content starts to fall down. A lot of these things also peak very fast and fall very fast.
Yeah.
So as brand managers, we need to be careful on what are we putting money behind, and are we one of the first movers, or are we coming in towards the end, towards the tail of this movement? Okay, so these are the things that we need
So
to
what is
constantly work.
Perfetti school of thought? Do you guys integrate yourself with such content?
We never look at content to decide what we want to integrate it. We always go brand out first. What is the brand about? What is the idea of the brand, right? And if something fits in with that narrative, we do it. Largely, we have not done much of this work in the last 2-3 years because we didn't feel a great fit with the way we are building the brand. But that doesn't mean we won't do it going forward. If there's something that makes sense, we will do it.
Okay. Then another thing you spoke about partnerships between agencies and clients. So one thing you did mention that Arvind Sharma used to spend a lot of time when you were at Decade for Complan, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So are you saying that agency people now don't spend that much of time with clients?
Yes and no. Agencies spending a lot of, especially long-term relationship agencies, they spend a lot of time with the client crafting the creative, right? And I personally am very thankful to the two agencies I work with because I see the passion for the brand in both the agencies. Where agencies can do better is before you end up at that stage, which is creative, we need to understand the business first. Creative is a tool to deliver the business. Creative is not the business. Right? So unless you understand the challenges of the business.
Strategy pays the company.
Yes, challenges which will lead to strategy. That strategy should then lead to a creative outcome. Creative does not exist in isolation. That is where I want to rephrase this point.
Okay. Understood. So Perfetti has got a lot of brands which are very much loved in India. Pop culture से बहुत related है. Center Fresh हो गया, Center Fruit, Alpenliebe, Happy Dent. So how do you rank which brand gets more love or focus how do you do that?
See, for us, if I was to pull back, all the brands are equally important. Okay. And in an ideal world, we would want to support everything. But we also live in an imperfect world where everyone is fighting for resources. Okay, so same is true for the brands we handle. The brands are constantly fighting for resources. The first rule that we follow is good money will chase good ideas. Okay, so whichever brand has great ideas. When I say ideas, that's not just creative, but growth ideas. Okay. That is where we'll allocate the money. Second, we have complex structures in place where we decide every year what is the focus for the next 3 years. Okay, which are the areas in which we want to invest? What does the innovation pipeline look like? Where is disproportionate growth going to come from? From which brand? From which initiative? And that's how we allocate the money. So it's not always the same brands. And there's a concept called zero-based budgeting. That is what we do every year. We go back to a zero base and we say, now let's see how growth is going to stack up and allocate money accordingly.
So how would you rank these brands now then?
It's difficult. We are still in the middle of finalizing our annual operating plans. Both the financial plan as well as the media plan. But there are brands in chewing gum business, there are brands in indulgence business that tend to be some of our focus areas.
Okay, so one brand that I really like and its advertising is Happy Dent. And I'm so lucky that I've got this chance to ask this question to you. How do you decide when to honor the legacy of the advertising that Happy Dent has brought and when to disrupt that advertising?
I think honor and disruption kind of go together in my head. In a way, you are not disrupting the legacy, but by recreating it in more modern ways, you are actually honoring the legacy. There's no fixed timing as such, but with the new Happydent campaign, we felt that the brand was at a place where it could take that step to move forward and create, in a way, a tribute to the original Palace ad, right? And that is how we ran the new campaign. The key differences essentially was, the first one was excellent storytelling around the benefit of the brand, which is light from the mouth, okay? But over a period of time, we have evolved Happydent to a purpose-led brand, which is you're shedding light on social causes, right? And we kind of took that bridge with the new campaign, where we said you can shed light on social causes and create a change in the society, okay? And with the same emphasis on storytelling. So if you remember the ad, there's a lot of build-up that happens in the new ad, leading to that moment where you identify this is a problem that we request all of you to help solve for the society. And it's all about shedding light on that problem. So for us, it was honoring that legacy, but in a much more modern way that appeals to the new generation, which is also very a purpose-led generation. They want to make an impact in the society. So we already had a good base of fantastic story. You've got a generation that appreciates purpose-led storytelling, and you already had built some background in our past campaigns, last 2-3 campaigns, of how Happydent could impact the world. So you bring all this seed together.
So were you able to generate that much of brand love?
Yes, the campaign seems to be doing very, very well. We are seeing it in the results on the brand. We have been gaining share. We've been growing very fast. And all thanks to Makan and Prasun for guiding us to it. Fun fact that people don't know is it took us 2.5 years to make this ad. So there were so many iterations with the creative team.
2.5 years?
Yes. The first meeting on the ad happened in Jan of 2023. But we launched in May of 2025. So it is a it's a labor of pain that you see on the screen today.
So where was the most time spent, strategy or creative?
Largely creative, because we were clear on what we wanted to do. Okay? But the creative team always wanted to bring more and more magic. So they've also been constructively pushing us to kind of think bigger on this campaign. And if it was not Makan, probably this magic wouldn't have happened. So all due respect to Makan as an agency for being a true partner with us and really pushing us on this campaign.
So Gunjan, you have mostly worked with a lot of legacy creative agencies, जैसे Makan हो गया, Ogilvy हो गया. What's your viewpoint of working with these new age startups like Fundamental, Talented? Enormous is not new, but again, not a legacy in comparison to Ogilvy and Makan. And there's one agency, Voom, which is very strong in strategy. So have you ever tried working with these smaller setups?
I think let me start the answer by saying that the kind of work that is coming out of these agencies is absolutely phenomenal. Okay, I've seen work of Enormous, Talented. I've heard of Voom. I think one of my teammates were talking about the agency. So any day I would love to find a way to work with them. The reason why we end up gravitating towards the legacy, let's not call it legacy agency, but the big behemoths in the industry, is because we have had legacy with them. Okay. So this is a partnership that has been built over 20, 25, 30 years. And they understand the DNA of the brands. They have all the history on every single campaign that was ever run and every single discussion that had happened on that campaign. Okay, so when I moved into this business, the amount of stories and the downloads I got from both the agencies, and really interesting, funny stories, of each campaign is phenomenal. Okay, so they understand our brand so well that they essentially are an equal guardian of our brands. It's like two parents, right? So it's very difficult for us to divorce from the agency, then move to a completely new setup. And this is where I think not just us, but some of the big FMCG companies with big brands tend to continue with their relationship in the creative world. It's a very different answer for media agencies, but with creative, this is always the challenge.
Okay. So my next question is a very simple question, but your answer will make all the difference to it, which is what I've observed is Perfetti ke jitne bhi brands hai, it uses a lot of humor in its advertising and content. But nowadays a simple TVC, a humorous, regular, funny TVC won't do the magic. And this year or even last year, there's a rise of cancel culture, and also people taking offense of every small thing. So in such a scenario, how do you continue being humorous yet being sensitive and also making impact? How do you do that?
So a straightforward answer is we don't overthink this. I understand all the boundaries we are working with and the access to internet and the ability for everyone to have a view, and it's totally fine. I can tell you, if I do anything today and I get 10 people to react to it, some people will like something, some people will not like, and that's completely fine. Okay, so as a brand custodian and as creative agencies, we do not overthink this. We believe in the strategy, we believe and agree on what is needed. We finalize the creative with the agencies and we shoot and we air. Okay. And we don't bother much about what comments am I getting on that ad. As long as the larger population is appreciative of the message and are getting the message. So at the end of the day, if I was to be brutally honest, all advertising essentially is designed to sell. Okay, we may create any fancy story around advertising does this and that and this, but advertising was created to sell products.
Yeah.
Okay? As long as a large amount of people are able to get what the brand is trying to sell, single-minded message, and that makes them buy the product, okay, it should be fine for us. Okay. Now, some of those people may say, oh, I didn't like that because how did you treat this person? Or even say, let's say, Happy Dent ad. Okay. Are you generalizing India? Okay. But India does not throw garbage properly. It's very offensive. I'm sure there would be 50 people who would end up saying that. Okay. But is that message not resonate with a large population of us? I'm sure it does. Can India be cleaner? Of course it can. Right? Does government have all the responsibility of cleaning India? Absolutely not. Do citizens have responsibility of cleaning India? Absolutely yes. Right? So these are the larger themes that are so obvious. Now some people may not agree with it, but I think a larger set of India would agree with it. So there's no harm. Similarly, any other advertising that we do, when I look at some of the comments, I see some people like it, some people don't like it. But that's fine. If I start overthinking that, then I'll put so many boundaries on my creative agency that they will come up with a very templated, fixed creative, which would be incredibly boring when it hits TV. Right.
So beyond TVC, how do you be part of the pop culture and also be humorous at the same time?
Beyond TVC, we run a lot of digital campaigns. Okay, we take the idea of the TVC and then we sometimes work with influencers, sometimes create edits of the TVC, sometimes create versions of the TVC. So we create a digital video itself. Okay, we did something on Center Fresh with Varun Dhawan, okay, which was different from the TVC, but around the same idea, right? So all that we do, we do a lot of pop culture work because of the audience that we speak to. We sponsor music events. We sponsor. We try to be present in big culture moments like Kumbh Mela, like festivals. Okay, using
Stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy on Happy Dent. We've done that. Okay, but we did it differently. We did it with a purpose. Okay, so we sponsored a stand-up comedy act for deaf people.
Oh.
Okay, because Happy Dent stands for purpose. Okay, and the purpose is to make the world better. And the brand took an inclusive angle to stand-up comedy. So again, it is important, whatever we do is ingrained in the positioning of the brand and what it stands for. So we try and be as relevant to pop culture as possible.
Okay. So now moving on the media side of this conversation, we've talked enough about creativity and we can continue talking about it. That's my favorite subject. But for a brand portfolio like yours, how do you think about big properties like IPL and reality shows?
They are great properties to be part of. They get you the eyeballs, they get you awareness, and they get you noticeability. Different brands have different opinions about it. Different companies have different opinions. For me, as long as a property makes sense from a value perspective, we would definitely invest. So we have invested in cricket whenever it makes sense from a value perspective. We continue to invest in reality shows and other such creative outcomes on OTT and digital. So we do invest, but A, it should make sense for the brand. B, it should make financial sense. So
a lot of times these properties rarely make financial sense.
That's why we also go back to the first filter, which is it should make sense for the brand. So suppose I've got a new campaign coming up and I want a quick reach build-up of that campaign and I need a very high impact property so people see that new advertising or new idea of the brand. Then I would spend money to be part of, say, ABC reality show. But would I do it on an ongoing campaign? Maybe not. I have much better ways to build an efficient plan.
Okay. So I will read out this next question of mine because I don't want to lose the chain of my thought. Gen Z supposedly low attention and high expectations. So from your experience, what do they actually reward in a brand? Humor, values, utility, or just cool factor? And also give me one stereotype about Gen Z that you do not buy at all.
I think my answer to both the questions is probably the same, which is I fundamentally do not believe that there is a attention deficit issue in the generation. I think the largest challenge is and I'm answering this question purely from a marketer's perspective, not commenting from any other perspective. I think the issue largely is with brands and creative and the kind of stories they are able to craft to be able to hook attention long enough with that audience. I've personally had experience where a couple of our campaigns did not face any challenge because they were 40, 45, 60 seconds. We get excellent view-through rates. We get so many people watching it, and most of these people are young people because we were lucky enough to be telling a good story. Okay. So my answer to both the questions essentially is you tell them a good story and they are going to reward you with their attention.
Okay. And I'm sure a lot of people come to you with their pitches of cross services. कभी adtech वाले आएंगे, कभी e-commerce वाले आएंगे, कभी creative वाले, कभी media वाले. But as an observant, which are the spaces that you see that there's a lot of growth for marketing and for the brand to sell?
I think adtech is one piece where at least FMCG industry is under leveraged, especially the role of AI in marketing. I'm very passionate on this subject, and I think there's more interest from the industry as well as from entrepreneurs that needs to get into this space on how to make both creativity and media more efficient. We run a lot of experiment internally, and we've been successful in some of them, not all of them, and we've been able to scale the ones that we have been successful with. We're doing a lot of work on media and media buying using tech, okay, and taking the human intervention out as much as possible. And with creativity also, we are trying to experiment on how tech could play a part in mass producing creativity, okay, at a scale and at variations and with flexibility that does not exist with typical creative outcomes.
So will you also be using a lot of AI generative creative films?
It would depend on the purpose of the brief that is raised and the strategic importance of that outcome. Okay, I still believe having humans is key to good storytelling. Okay, so I don't see, at least in the near future, a world where we would move away our big campaigns from the traditional way of telling stories. But with tactical campaigns, there is a great opportunity to experiment and learn.
With this, I will take a sigh of relief because a few days back only, I saw Coca-Cola's main film for Christmas, which is AI generated, and I was like, where are we heading towards? And I've been observing about this festive season as well. I saw a lot of brands coming up with campaigns, but most of them AI generated. So I don't know where we are heading towards, but that's actually nice to hear that for the larger campaigns, probably you, Perfetti, won't be actually creating AI generated films.
Yeah, that's the vision. And again, but there are no right or wrong answers here. For tactical campaigns, maybe there's an opportunity to
That's
learn.
fine for tactical campaigns. That's actually fine. Because there's so much of content one has to create, and
Exactly.
if there's an easier way to do it, then why not?
Absolutely, yeah. And at scale.
What are the guardrails that you put around using AI in your marketing and advertising functions?
We are still evolving as an AI adopting company. Okay, there's a lot of global guardrails already in place that is being translated down to different countries within the Perfetti world. But the larger guardrails are essentially the brand guardrails. So if this is the kind of story the brand tells, the AI generated output should be in those boundary lines. And obviously the output should be as close to a human intervention as possible. Okay, I know it's not yet perfect because some of these AI campaigns that you talked about, you are able to figure out very quickly that they are AI generated. Okay? But I think it's probably a year, max 2 years down, where AI learns things so quickly that they are able to recreate almost human-like emotions. Okay, so that challenge will go away very soon.
On the media side?
On the media side, we focus largely on optimization. Okay, can we bid faster? Okay, to get more, to get better rates on YouTube, and what are the other ways in which we can optimize? Are there ways in which AI can optimize my plan better than what a manual intervention can do? So there are many things which we are picking up in the industry, and we are adopting and experimenting and piloting And a couple of those pilots have been successful and we have really scaled them. So right now, for example, on YouTube, most of the bidding we do is AI-led bidding. Okay? Which means every nanosecond, I'm able to optimize my bid and get a better rate. So those things keep on happening, and again, hopefully, a lot of entrepreneurs can get into the media part of technology. That is where I think a lot of impact would happen in the industry.
And have you ever experimented with gaming?
Yes, we were one of the early ones as a company to start working on gaming. I think back in 2021 or 2022, Chupa launched its own game for Halloween, okay, which got incredibly popular. And since then, we have just continued with that. On other brands also, on Center Fruit, we have launched a game a couple of years back. So we keep doing a lot of work on gaming, but only where it makes sense, on brands where it makes sense. Not all brands are jumping into it. What we have also evolved with our media agency in partnership with them is identifying passion points that brands can own. So gaming is not a passion point for all brands, but it's a passion point for a couple of brands. So those are the brands that will go on and invest in gaming.
And does social commerce has a role to play in your category?
Social commerce is important, okay, and will only become more and more important. Unfortunately, because of the ticket size of transaction, which is 1 rupee candy, max 5 rupee candy or 10 rupees, this category is not yet big on social and e-commerce as yet, because there's a certain minimum transaction size at which a delivery becomes feasible. Okay, so this confec as a category itself is challenged on that ticket size. But we are ideating together with some of these platforms to figure out how could we play a bigger role in e-commerce.
A lot of other FMCG brands, CMOs have told me that they're not very heavy on e-commerce, e-retail because the ticket size is so small. So there's no point spending so much money on e-retail that much.
Could be for them. I would understand if a consumer durable CMO comes in and says, on quick commerce, there's only so much that I can sell. Okay, but for small ticket price products, quick commerce could still be a big unlock. Right? So I can't imagine. I'm sure it's being done, and I've heard it's being done, but I don't think refrigerators sell a lot on quick commerce. Okay, they would still sell a lot from offline stores because you want to go and experience.
Air purifiers are going out of stock on quick commerce.
So they're going out of stock everywhere, by the way. But yeah, so that's the distinction we need to make on which platform suits what.
Understood. I've read somewhere that currently 30% of the business that Perfetti earns is through high ticket prices items. And then you have the goal to make it to 50% by next year. And I also read that 55% of business comes from tier 2, tier 3 cities and rural areas. So how does it happen, focusing more on high ticket prices and most business coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities?
I think it's a misconception in the industry that low tier cities and rural India still buys low ticket price products. Our personal experience in the categories and the brands we play in, lot of tier 2, tier 3, rural, rest of urban is buying mid ticket size products. So 5 and 10 rupee products are selling as well, or actually even better in rural, let's not call it rural, but non-metro cities, okay, and rural India. A large part of our growth on these, what we call as high value packs, is actually coming out of these smaller cities. Okay. So because what has happened, especially during and post-COVID, is aspirations of a lot of these towns and villages are through the roof because of access to information. Okay. So they also want the same kind of experience that you and I want in a metro city, and they're willing to pay for it. So that has really helped us in achieving the 30% contribution, and also putting a target for ourselves where we gradually move to a 50% contribution. It cannot happen without tier 2, tier 3 and rural India being part of it. Okay. So that is how we've kind of built this ambition for ourselves.
Okay. So for my love of creativity and advertising, I've got one or two more questions related to creative. What, in your view, is a good modern creative brief? And if you had to remove 2 common slides from each deck that lands on your table, what would it be?
What is a good modern creative brief? Difficult. It's been a while that I have written brief. My brand managers write it. I only critique them. But I think there should be one thing very, very clear in the brief, which is what is the message the brand needs to give. Okay. Sometimes I see that a marketeer wants to say so many things about their brand because of the love for their brand. I want to do this and this and this and this and this. But the creative guy cannot write a script which can deliver on all 5 things. The magic of storytelling would be around one thing. Okay, that is the fundamental rule of good advertising. Okay? So this is one thing that I would want the brand managers of today to focus on. Find that one thing that will create magic for your brand and put it in the brief, and I can promise you that a good creative agency will find you that magic. Okay? So that's one thing. Now, when I look at presentations, a couple of slides that I can drop probably is, don't reiterate facts in the name of insights. Insights and data and facts are vastly different. So if you starting by saying, I've found this insight, and you present me the data that widely exists or I'm already aware of, that is what I find a waste of time, both for the brand manager and for me. Okay. That is where a lot of things get stuck, and a lot of people, largely the industry, is doing a lot of it. So for me, that is one thing that I want brand managers to really think hard on. Spend some time really finding insights and not presenting data.
That's a very interesting answer that you've given. I'll probably use it in my teaser. But it's a very difficult thing to actually differentiate between, come to the actual insight, because a lot of people confuse between data, kuch alag sa unique mil gaya and they call it insight. So it's not an easy thing to do actually. Anyways, moving to the next part, how has your conversation with agencies changed in the last 3 years? Are you asking a few different questions?
Actually, it's been a two-way communication with the agencies. Agencies are asking me difficult questions on how you're going to invest in digital, and I'm asking similar questions on how is your digital strategy, creative strategy, going to be different from your TV strategy. So there's a lot of good conversation that are happening between me and the creative agencies on how do we wake up to this new world, and what is the role that my brands are going to play with this new audience, and how do we continue to stay relevant both from a creative as well as a media perspective. So these are some of the conversations that continue to be had with the creative agency.
Okay, interesting. And when you hire marketers, what are the 1 or 2 things that you see beyond regular, which college they've come from and 2-3 achievement of theirs? What are the 1 or 2-3 things?
I just look for one thing, that is attitude. I hire for attitude.
What attitude, if you can elaborate?
Positive attitude. The ability and belief that you can make a difference. Okay, and that I can spot in first 5 minutes of the interview, depending on how they are articulating their achievements. Because I can teach everything else. I can teach them what marketing is. I can teach them data analysis. I can teach them creative thinking. I can teach them how to write a brief. Okay, but if I'm stuck with someone who's not positive thinking or has a poor attitude, that belief system is very difficult to shake. It takes a lot of energy of the organization. So for me, a person with good attitude will automatically be like a sponge and absorb things. For me, that is a big differentiator, and that is what I hire for.
Gunjan, if a 24-year-old newcomer in marketing comes and talks to you and asks for your suggestion that what should he or she not do to become a CMO by 40?
He should do and he should not do. I think what he or she should do is spend a lot of time learning, okay, and be patient, okay, and believe that everyone has the best interest in their heart when they are supporting you in the career. Okay, no organization wants to not invest behind talent. Okay. If I've got 11 brand managers in my team, I have zero interest in not supporting one over another. Because why would I then pay them salary? Right? I am equally interested in all of them developing. Right? So, ability to be patient, ability to believe in the systems of the organization, and ability to learn and wanting to learn, that attitude to learn, will ensure that one grows very fast in any organization. What they should not do is an age-old truth that's been around for 40-50 years. Do not compare your career with anyone else's. Your marathon journey is going to be different from theirs. Okay? You will have different challenges, the other person will have different challenges. So both of you may end up at the same point or different points. So there's no point comparing because you're just putting more stress on yourself and on the organization. It kind of goes back to the idea, be patient and believe in the organization. So this is how I would probably look at what one should do and what. And I'm speaking from experience because I've done all these mistakes. And when I reflect back, I realize that I could have done better.
And where does one get to learn more, at a startup or a well-settled legacy company?
I think both have their own advantages. A startup teaches you how to survive. Okay? Teaches you how to move fast, act fast. Teaches you a lot about character, okay? And agility, right? Whereas a big company teaches you the fundamentals of business, teaches you structure, it teaches you processes, okay? All these then help you in the longer term when you start looking at CMO, CEO. These things are important, okay? Because then you have ownership of a larger organization, right? So both have their own role to play in developing. So there's no right or wrong answer here. Depends on what you want to do as an individual. Where is your heart?
I saw on your LinkedIn that you're also a mentor and investor in quite a few startups. But I also saw that you have never worked in a startup.
Yeah, so startup was not a big thing when I had joined the workforce. Everyone wanted to work for big companies. But at the same time, you understand a lot of growth is with startups disrupting the markets. So as an investor, I'm interested in hearing more startup stories. But because I've not had ever an experience in a startup and that culture is completely different, I've never had the opportunity to work in a startup, honestly.
Okay, understood. if this episode becomes a time capsule, and I hope that this becomes a time capsule and people just probably 10 years later go back to this episode, and if you want people to listen something about the state of marketing in 2025, what would you say? And the second part of the question is, what is that one thing that you think that has changed, which you thought 10 years ago that this is the fundamental of marketing?
So in terms of state of marketing, I think 2025, 26, 27 are going to be highly dynamic period for marketeers, because we are at a flux today with technology suddenly becoming so important in everything we do, and with AI it is having a direct impact on marketing. So the next 3 years are going to decide how the new marketing world would look like. Okay, and it's also equally important for us marketeers to be able to move with times, pick some of those skills up, and learn and implement and pilot some of these things. So that's going to be important from a state of marketing perspective. And sorry, on what was the second part of the
second part is, what is that one thing that you thought 10 years ago that wouldn't change, that the fundamental of marketing, but that has changed?
I think the fundamental of marketing probably still remains the same. You have to be relevant to the consumers. Okay, and now the ways in which you can be relevant to the consumers, how you take your message to the consumers, all that ecosystem around the consumer has changed. Okay, but other than that, the basics as a marketeer on how to converse with the consumer still essentially is the bedrock of marketing. If you're not able to crack that relationship, okay, you wouldn't have built the brand 10 years back, you won't be able to build the brand today. So I don't think fundamental has changed, and if fundamental starts changing, then I think we have a big problem in marketing.
But is there something that you think that has changed in the last 10 years and probably 10 years ago you thought that it won't?
I think the role of technology, I would have never imagined the kind of learning I have to do almost on a daily basis. When I started marketing, we had 250 channels on TV and a few on cable and posters in stores. That's it. That was marketing for us. But now we have 700 channels, massive cable TV, then you've got CTV, then you've got digital, and within digital you've got so many platforms. It's a completely different world. And I would have never ever imagined that the world would be like this, even 10 years back, honestly.
Now we're talking about technology. One very important aspect is connected TV. How do you look at connected TV? Do you use it as like an incremental reach or targeted play? Because Perfetti ke mostly brands are massy.
Yeah, we're still trying to understand connected TV and the role it plays in building unique reach and the value it brings to the table. So I don't have a specific answer to give, but it is an important part of our conversation internally and with our media agency. So we're definitely looking at it, but we have not formed a view yet on connected TV.
Oh, that's a very big thing that you said, because Perfetti is a big brand and everybody is all over connected TV. It's like a thing. Agar aap wahan nahi hai, to aapko FOMO hoga. So, but you're still in a process of understanding it.
Yeah. So my personal belief is I won't do things just because everyone else is doing. The job that the media agency and my media team has is to first convince me that it is great value for us. And once I'm convinced, I'm going to over-invest on that. So we are in the process of discovering this connected TV a bit more. I understand a lot of industries move to connected TV, and that's fine. If I hear some experiments that have gone right, that will probably accelerate this learning for me. But I first want to understand this landscape.
My last question to you, Gunjan. I really loved this conversation, but I wanted to know that if not a marketer, what would you have been? Was there an alternate career, or या कोई ऐसी चीज है अभी भी that you can pull it off?
I am an engineer from an undergrad, and that's why I love numbers. So I could have done something, maybe just continued with that stream. I got placed in a software company, so could have been a tech guy for all you know. But I've always had this burning fire to be behind the camera. Okay, so that is one thing that I've never explored in the past.
What do you mean by burning fire to be behind the camera?
So when I was in New York, when we used to stay in New York, there's a very famous film school in New York. Okay, so I wanted to do courses there, summer courses there, to learn the art of direction and storytelling.
So एक तरफ engineering, दूसरी तरफ direction.
So I'm always torn between these two, and that's how we started. So I think I have a good mix of both.
You are in the right career then.
Yes, exactly. So I found the most comfortable space. ये भी नहीं कर सकते, ये भी नहीं कर सकते, तो बीच में marketing कर लेते हैं.
You can still do direction. अपने किसी campaign का.
Retirement plan. If Perfetti is kind enough to hire me.
Is there something that you want to share with our audience, and probably we have not spoken about it?
I think I've been as open as I could, but assuming a lot of your audience is from the industry, I think the only message I would give is India is at a point and time where all of us are going to play a big part in how this country turns up. So take the onus on yourself, professionally, personally, and believe that you can make a difference in whichever way you can. Even the smallest thing you can do every day is going to make a difference in this country being a really developed country, a big superpower in the future to come. You may not be able to see the benefit, but I can promise you your kids would. So approach this challenge, this opportunity from that perspective, and find little ways to make that difference.
Thank you so much for giving your time to us, and I hope our audience get a lot of takeaways from this episode. Thank you so much, Gunjan.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope you guys love the interaction.